Hi, my name is Kevin Coim. I am the founder and CEO of Tech Ranch, an incubator based in Austin, Texas, as well as I am the chairman of the Mental Health Special Interest Group as part of the Texas Global Health Security Initiative. And I want to talk a little bit about the startups that we're going to be presenting to you now in the mental health space and community resiliency. As we all know, coronavirus has been hard on everyone around the world. And not necessarily just because of the virus itself, but because of the isolation that happened around this. This has driven all sorts of other conditions. One of the ones that I really want to focus on is the isolation driving what's called psychosocial stress. Now, psychosocial stress is a fancy way of saying this imbalance between, you're just not able to handle the situations that have happened and that have been presented. And as we've been isolated, there's been all sorts of other conditions that have come up because of this. Now, what's interesting is, as soon as June of 2020, it was already showing in the United States. These numbers are from the CDC and then from the UK at the Office of National Statistics. It was already showing that 40% of people were struggling in June of 2020. It got much worse in 2021, and we saw different issues like suicide rates and things like that went up. But it affected more than just that one statistic. It affected across the board. There's a gentleman by the name of Dr. Sandeep Hirar that said, "The heart might not be the origin of our feelings, but is highly affected by them. We have learned, for example, that fear and grief can cause serious cardiac injury." Now, he's gone on to write several different books, and this is from one of his articles in the New York Times. But what's interesting about this is this has greatly affected health, both directly through infection by the virus, but also indirectly because of the stress that has affected us. And we've heard from Dr. Gabor Mate that safety is not the absence of threat, but the presence of connection. I want to dig in on that, and some of the startups that we're going to be looking at are specifically wrapped around this. How do we create more connection? Well, there's a mountain in front of us that we have to climb to make this possible, especially coming out of the coronavirus economy, the economy around it, and then obviously with issues of what's happening and the stress caused by the war in Ukraine. Part of what we want to say, and part of the philosophy around the Tech Ranch is, William Gibson, the science fiction writer, said, "The future's already here, it's just not widely distributed yet." And the Kevin Coim corollary on that, my corollary on that is all the world's problems have already been solved by connecting entrepreneurs with the solution to the market that has the problem. Now, around Tech Ranch, we've worked with more than 6,500 entrepreneurs from 42 countries and deploying solutions all the time. But what you're going to hear from our colleague, Dr. Harris Iyer, is he's going to talk a little bit more about the science and tech that's going for a direct therapeutical effect into dealing with brain science and brain issues. But part of what we were looking at is considering entrepreneurs as cultural creators. Now, we know examples of this. A good example is that we've heard about how Facebook has both brought us together and torn us apart. We really want to focus on a set of entrepreneurs and startups around the world that are really driving in how to drive this connection back and forth. And so this is what you're about to see, is you're going to see a number of startups that are going to talk about technologies that are driving more connection among people and making it possible to reduce the effects of the psychosocial stress that we were talking about earlier. From that, it's my honor to introduce these startups. We'll have a number of startups from everywhere from Australia to Denmark to around the world, many different startups. And if you follow up with us, we'll actually make sure that you're on an email list for the subsequent ones that are not able, where we weren't able to fit into the time that we had available. With that, it's my honor to introduce the startups that are driven by entrepreneurs, that are driven by values and vision. Let's go change the world for the better together. Thank you for your time today.